Thank you for joining me. This is the Spiritual Princess. And today I wanted to do a video about what happens after we die. And this will be in the series of student questions that my guides have answered. The first question is, what have the spirits told you about God? My guides say, God is in all of us. God is a part of us, as there is no separation. Every experience you have, God is also experiencing the same as you. Transitioning to the light means you have accepted to come home, where you were created to be loved and protected and be rejoined with your loved ones. Whether you come home or stay on the earthly plane, it's your choice, but coming home is much more enjoyable than staying in a negative plane of existence. Another question is, as we leave our bodies, do we immediately go to the other side? What happens right at our moment of death? My guide said, once the body dies, your soul has to decide whether or not they feel it's time to leave everything behind. If they are attached to earthly possessions or people, it is much more difficult for them to transition to the other side. Some spirits want to continue living out their lives in spirit form with friends and family, and they don't leave until everyone else does. Another question. After my husband died, he seemed to be around me more in the first year, and then after a while, I knew he had moved on. What happens the first year after death? Why do some people come to loved ones so clearly and some don't? So my guide said, it depends on how much the spirit believed while living. If they had a strong base in faith, God, and the other side, it would be much easier for them to communicate with their loved ones after they pass away. If the spirit did not have any beliefs regarding death and the other side, then they have a lot to learn, and therefore it's going to take them more time to become enlightened before they can visit their loved ones. Another question is, does everyone go to heaven or the other side, regardless of their religious beliefs? My guide answers, only if they want to. As a soul, you have a choice. You will never be made to go home. But if you stay earthbound and do bad things, you will be dissolved if it gets bad enough. It doesn't matter what religious beliefs you had while living. The light of God welcomes anyone who accepts it. Another question. Do people who commit suicide and die in tragic accidents all go through the same transformations? And do they all end up in the same dimension? My guide said, suicides are difficult because it's something the soul has to decide. There are many reasons why someone might not want to fulfill their life's contract on earth. Generally, they choose lessons that are too difficult for them to handle. And as spirit guides, we discourage that before people are born, but they will override us and believe they will be fine. Then some souls are born with mental illness or another disability. These souls are not capable of seeing past suicide as being wrong. They want the pain to end, so they believe that ending their life on earth will end all the pain, but that is not true. They are made to live out the lessons on the other side, but in a gentler way. Many suicide victims devote their time to helping the living not make the same mistakes they made after death. The spirit jumps in and tries to guide that person not to end their life. If the living person is not open to any form of spiritual communication or believes in God, angels, or anything, they will not be able to sense, hear, or feel the communication trying to come through. People who die in tragic accidents are mostly confused and do not understand what's happened. They believe they are still living, and it takes them some time to figure out there's no longer a sense of time, and that soul can wander the earth for hundreds of years before they begin to understand. It becomes a medium's job to help, since they can communicate with these lost souls and help them understand what has happened. Once they understand, they will be eager to cross over and be with their loved ones. If the person understood the accident was inevitable, they would better understand when they are out of their body about what happened, and they can choose to cross over right away. Next question is heaven another planet-like existence? My guide said, it's a higher dimension, not a planet. Therefore, everything you loved while on earth is recreated in heaven for all to enjoy. Given that so many souls like different things, you pretty much have anything you could think of there. If it's not created, you will create it in your mind and make it exist. It's pretty effortless. Another question is, I am conflicted about mediums versus Christian beliefs. The Bible is against this practice, calling it sorcery, and I have heard others say there are no spirits and no afterlife. I know this cannot be true because I have seen spirits and had my own paranormal experiences. My guide said, just because something is taught in a religion doesn't make it correct or true. Many teachings are false, so this is important for a medium to understand. You were given this gift of connecting to the other side so that you know what is true and what is not. You are on a different journey than someone who is just going to church once or twice a week. We are not saying going to church is wrong, but it is not always the best for people who need more in-depth training in spirituality. This is because mediums are experiencing something completely different than those who go to church to hear inspirational messages, see friends, and be a part of their community. We do not like that certain teaching makes people believe that a medium is evil because it is a much-needed healing on the planet. There is nothing evil about wanting to help those who need to heal from the loss of a loved one. Their Bible tries to make people believe it is immoral to speak with those who have passed on, which is wrong. Many spirit people need support and healing before moving on because of what they were taught and what they believed about religion at the time of their death. It is a medium's job to have a compassion for those spirits and help them find the light or help them heal and understand that what was taught to them was not exactly right. The bottom line, people are given this ability for a certain reason that only God and that person understand. It is not for any religion or person to judge, and it is not the medium's job to try to change anyone's faith or belief system. Churchgoers are on a much different spiritual journey than a medium. It is like comparing a first grade student to someone trying to get a master's degree. They are so far apart in the knowledge that it's ridiculous to even try to make that comparison. Next question, I want to know about God and angels. Do we have to earn our way to heaven, or does everyone go there? And is there a hell, or is it only in our head? My guides say God created angels to help humanity while on earth. Since so many unenlightened souls come to earth to learn lessons, God put guides and angels in charge to assist people with the difficult lessons they are faced with. They try and impress the right thoughts in everyone's mind to go in the right direction or do the right thing. Some people respect that advice and will listen, while others will do what they want, which usually turns out bad or causes problems for them or other people. For this reason, many evolved souls are being sent to Earth to help the younger souls learn and grow. Evolved souls are sent to help spirits left behind to make their transition to the other side. The biggest problem we guides have noticed is that many enlightened souls do not know where to turn for guidance or acquire everything they need to know to do the work properly. Many are born with certain abilities, but they won't acknowledge them out of fear of being made fun of or branded as odd, new age spiritual weirdos, which is entirely wrong. Another question is, we all hear about cases of SIDS, sudden infant death, so it made me wonder why this happens. My guide said, when a baby suddenly dies, it can happen because of medical issues undiagnosed by doctors, or because the soul decided it wasn't ready for this life and decided to leave. If that happens, it is devastating for the family. The soul is made to feel how much they were loved and will be missed due to their choices. The parents are not to blame, but they feel responsible somehow. Usually the parents will try again later, and a much stronger soul will take its place. As a medium, I often help spirit transition to the other side, which I also call soul rescue, or you can call it crossing over. But basically the process is about assisting earthbound spirits in finding the light so they can make their way home, because it is not only the final part of our life's journey, but this is a natural process for our soul. Most spirits do not understand or realize that they passed away because they're the same person they were when they lived. Time gets distorted, so the soul is unaware that several years or even decades may have passed. Spirits feel as alive as you and I. For most of them, nothing's changed. As time passes, they know things are changing, but they don't understand how or why it's happening. Then they become confused about why they live in their time one minute, and the next they see new buildings or different technology. Some spirits are in denial about what happened to them, mainly because they suffered trauma during death or did something to cause their passing, which can cause them not to take responsibility for it. Generally, when a spirit realizes something is out of the ordinary, they begin the journey to figure it out. That's why they find someone who can communicate with them, and as the medium, we have the responsibility to make them understand why things are changing. They must face it eventually, but if the medium is gentle and respectful in explaining the process, the spirit will be able to handle it better. Some souls who have committed suicide and believe it didn't work, so they will reside like nothing ever happened. When the soul is in complete denial, they will not notice the sad loved ones who remain, but the spirit person, more aware of the mistake, is compelled to bear the sadness and anger from the loved ones they left behind. That is exceptionally difficult for them, but they made their choice, and now the only option is to endure every unpleasant emotion and sadness from those they loved when they were alive. When I come across earthbound spirits, I aim to make them understand that they no longer have a physical body, but still exist and they're fine. Helping suicide victims accept their current state is sometimes the most challenging part of the soul rescue, but to tell a spirit they are dead will only set up the remainder of the conversation, so they go into opposition and denial. It is best to be kind, gentle, and respectful in delivering such shocking news. Still, the process can move forward if somebody like me can lead the soul to understand their current state and help them know that they no longer have a body but are still alive in spirit form. Some spirit people are immediately ready and willing to leave once help is offered. A handful, they will refuse to accept that they do not have their physical bodies, and that takes them much more effort to get them to cross over. Another question, is there such a thing as the Grim Reaper who comes to take souls? I've read other stories where people claim to have seen them before death. My guide said no, the Grim Reaper is a figment of the person's imagination because the negative spirit will know what to use to scare the person. If someone grew up afraid of that image and belief, it would use that against the person. Another question, why when someone passes on, some are earthbound and never go to the light, and then I see a show where other spirits collect souls as soon as people die? Can something take our soul, and are we helpless? My guide said it's rare, but in some cases, evil souls seek out earthbound spirits who are confused and in despair due to their actions while living. That makes it easy for an evil spirit to take their soul from them. They will take it as part of their own, to do bad to others and harm the living. It cannot happen to souls who believe in God, because if a spiritual belief system is in place, they are protected by God and the legions of angels. If the soul carried out evil acts to harm people when alive, these other evil beings can take their soul and collect it as part of their own. They become a part of the other evil entity. That is very dangerous to encounter because several evil spirits are combined, making them more powerful. A strong medium has nothing to worry about if they encounter something like that. The dark presence wouldn't want to tangle with a powerful light worker. They seek out the weak-minded, and that's when there are possessions, and then it takes a very powerful spiritualist or Catholic priest to rid these evil entities that have taken over a living person. It is rare, but every medium needs to know it exists. And that is another reason it is so important to rid the planet of dark souls who roam and plot to harm the living. The faster we dissolve them, with angels' help, the better the world will become. Another question is, I tell people that I'm not afraid to die, but I am afraid of how I will die. I don't want to be eaten by a lion, and I wish to go to heaven so I can be surrounded by animals. My guide said, you've probably had many lifetimes by now, and you have died in different ways that you don't even remember. Sometimes those deaths could have been tragic, some could have been natural causes. The one thing to remember about death is that it is a natural part of our existence here, and it is easy to let go and transcend the journey forward. The hard part is living a stressful life. Death is the easy part, and that is not something to fear. When you go to the other side, you can connect with any of the animals you wish, and you will understand why they had an important role when they were living. You can spend as much time with them as you want, and they like it. Please understand that you cannot reach out and pet them as you do on Earth. You merge your energy with theirs. Once you do, there is a mutual understanding of one another. On Earth, everything is solid, but on the other side, everything is energy. You can put your hand on an animal or touch a building, but you know that it's not solid like everything is on Earth. That is tough for most people to grasp after they leave. You can get the sensation of hugging someone, but really it's just merging of your energy. They can feel your emotions the same way you can feel theirs. You can't do that on Earth unless you have empathic abilities, and even that ability isn't as strong as it is on the other side. And the last question, I've witnessed through readings or books that most people who have died have to relearn or reflect on things they did wrong in their lifetime. If this is true, it cannot be that way for everyone, because sometimes they are as mean in death as they were in life. Why do some people change their way of thinking after death and some don't? My guides say all souls that transcend will experience a life review, showing them how they behaved while living. Most souls feel terrible about how they treated others while living. They decide how they could have handled people or situations better. But it's not like the soul is being judged. The soul is judging themselves for how they behaved. Suppose a soul hasn't gone to the other side. That indicates they haven't transitioned to a higher vibrational realm. In that case, they can continue with the same negative beliefs, which means they will come through as the same mean person when living. But once they do transcend, the soul understands how they were wrong and will be more apologetic instead of being mean or hateful. So I'm going to leave that there, and I hope you enjoyed what my guide said about God and heaven and what happens after we die. It's Thanksgiving in a week from today, so I hope you all have happy holidays with family and friends. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more of my inspirational content. Thank you so much for supporting my journey. Everybody listening, you mean the world to me. And if you want to follow me on Facebook, I can be found at Conversations with the Other Side. Have a great day or night. Love and light.